Should we move on to NXT?
No.
All right,
There's got to be something else.
This is going to be brief. NXT on January 20th. At least we got to watch the inauguration all day, so we were in somewhat of a good mood, but this brought it way down. They're not even trying anymore. I know that, it's not like there's a ratings war on either side now, because it started out that way, but everybody, I think, has pretty much figured out they're going to get what they're going to get. NXT's not trying at all. AEW is, you can't tell whether they're trying or not. That's the kind of thing, Dennis Connery used to say that. He used to liken this to working with the Von Erichs. He said, have you ever been in an easy street fight where you knew you were going to win, but the other guy was trying? That's what it's like working with the Von Erichs. It's the same thing with AEW. You can't really tell whether they're trying to win a ratings war or not, because their shows all look fucking same anyway. But with NXT, the Dusty Classic Tag Team Tournament, this should, in memory of Dusty Rhodes, this should be a big fucking deal, right? You would think. And I know that there's not 24 great tag teams around the world like there was at the, what was it? Was it 24 or 16? How many teams were in the first Crockett Cup? It was more than 16.
It was, 87 definitely was.
Anyway, the point is, I know there's not that many, but goddamn, if you're gonna if you can't have any more teams than this, or any better teams than this, don't have so many fucking teams. The opening match on NXT in the Dusty Classic was Kushida and good old Leon Ruffin against Johnny Sameface and Austin Theory. I tried to fast forward through just to watch whenever Austin Theory was in the ring. This is why I said, I'm just going to watch whenever Theory's in the ring, because he's a goddamn future superstar, right? Well, he should be a future superstar. Who knows what'll happen? But I spent about 1 minute seeing him get beat up by a skeleton that was stolen out of a medical school and a homeless Japanese midget. And I said, fuck it, and fast forwarded, and this was the first 20 minutes of the program. I'm sure Kushida's a technical genius, but he's also 5'3", wearing blue jeans and tennis shoes, and he looks like he just got up from a nap under the overpass.
He's not 5'3".
Okay, 5'2" then. I'm sorry.
He may be 5'6".
Fucking exaggerate.
Maybe 5'6".
He might be. Yeah, so was Aunt Lola.
Was she?
And,
Was she was 5'6"?
Actually, she was only 5'4". But she outweighed Kushida and Leon Ruffin together. What are you laughing about?
Okay, I don't know where we're going here. Okay, keep going with the match.
Okay, basically, I'm not going to spend 20 minutes of my life watching these fucking goofs just to see Austin Theory. So they've lost me there. They've paired up Austin Theory with the world's most boring wrestler. Now I don't get to see any more Austin Theory because I ain't doing it. So we move ahead. Did you watch the match?
I watched a lot of it. I did have the thought watching this. Now, look, there are examples that go the other way, like Austin Theory, like Karrion Kross. I guess Damian Priest is now headed to the main roster.
Priest is gone. Ripley's gone.
Walter is NXT UK, but I guess technically that's a separate thing. Why don't they just make NXT the Cruiserweight brand? Because even the guys we like
everybody'd have to gain a lot of weight.
But even the guys we like, Adam Cole, Roddy Strong, they're all smaller guys in terms of height, in terms of weight. Why not just make the entire brand the Cruiserweight brand instead of having guys the size of Gargano defeating guys the size of a Keith Lee or a Karrion Kross or a Damian Priest? I think that's
I can tell you why.
Why?
Because if they made it entirely a Cruiserweight brand, then nobody would watch it at all. Because that's what they did. 205 Live, do they even still do that? Nobody wants to see guys that are advertised as little bitty fucking fellows fighting. And the guys that you have that fit the Cruiserweight weight limit, but you mentioned like a Kyle O'Reilly or an Adam Cole or a Roderick Strong or some of these guys that have the personality or the overall shape or the way it's put together, they can take your mind off that they're Tommaso Ciampa. Weighed in 201 pounds, he's fucking cut. He looks great. You can say 225 and people would believe it on television. If you tell people, yeah, here's a bunch of little guys and that's all it is, nobody's going to fucking watch it. Because it's going to be, they know at this point, that's why they renamed junior heavyweight from so many years ago, because the junior heavyweight title after Danny Hodge got prostituted so much and put on underneath guys. And then they came up with cruiserweight, which was another euphemism in WCW 90s for job guys. The cruiserweights weren't the main event guys. The cruiserweights, in most cases, ain't going to be the main event guys. Not if... Eventually they will be when the business has constricted down a little bit more and there's such a small group of people watching it that they're only watching to see a bunch of circus stunts from a bunch of fucking flying monkeys. But if you're talking about a wrestling promotion that draws serious money, the cruiserweights ain't going to be in the main event. So don't doom a division by just saying, yeah, these are all cruiserweights. Just don't hire the fucking guys that look like they still ought to be in middle school. Professional wrestlers come in all shapes, sizes, and weights. Danny Hodge was not much over 200 pounds, but he looked good. Anyway, speaking of looking good, Karrion Kross, the next guy up against Ashante Adonis. Not the double A that we like to think of in wrestling. And Kross killed him here like he should have. It was a short, brief match where Kross just fucking suplexed him out of his boots, dropped him on his head, and beat him. And the girl referee screwed up the count for some fucking unknown reason. I have no idea why. But at least here on this program, they know that guys are supposed to get convincing, dominant wins in order to be impressive and get over before they have main event matches. On the other channel, they have guys come in and go 20 minutes with fucking everybody to make sure people know that they're not a threat to anybody, and then they start giving them fucking wins after they've already been seen in main events. They're fucking idiots. Anyway, I mean, but that's what it was. Kross dropped this guy like a fucking bad habit, and that's what it was supposed to be. Who is MSK, and what the fuck does MSK mean?
I could be wrong because there is a bit of fast forwarding that happens with this show. But I don't think they've said what MSK stands for. And as we said last time, they were formerly known as the Rascals in Impact Wrestling.
They were feeling groovy.
And they're also known for bad tattoos, I assume.
They did a package on these guys. And by the way, the one thing I said that they did that was the stupidest thing I've ever seen, the backflip shove the partner into the splash that they did that just made no sense whatsoever. And even Stacy Scoff laughed at it when I pointed it out to her. In the package, they highlighted that move from 3 different fucking angles. The guy literally, one of the MSK guys turns his back on the opponent that's laying there, but he's not even over the opponent. And then the guy does a standing backflip, and when he's turned over, his partner shoves him forward onto a press on the guy that's laying there instead of him just backflipping on the fucking guy. And they highlighted that. That's why I'm saying they've lost complete control and track of what this even is up there. And everybody has. The production crew, the whole 9 yards. I would have conversely told them, don't ever do that fucking move again because we're going to edit out the one you just did. They show it 3 times in a package. But they did not explain. They gave their real names, Wes, Lee, and South, North. I don't fucking care. I can't remember the other guy's name. But they didn't say, it's MSK. What does MSK mean? What does it stand for? Is it initials? What the fuck? They didn't explain their horrible haircuts either. They just explained that they were really glad to be there, which makes, by my count, 6,472 wrestlers that have done interviews in the last year that I've watched saying that they were just so happy to be wherever they are. It's their lifelong dream, which, of course, is what every star says. I'm so glad to be in this movie. I'm so glad that you all came to see my concert. You've heard fucking Led Zeppelin. Robert Plant used to say that all the time. Oh, we're nothing without you people. I'm so glad you came here. No, he was fucking every woman and taking every guy's fucking drug. because he was a rock star. Anyway.
I hate when they sign someone new to the Performance Center and you see the picture of like the group that they just signed and they're all wearing shirts property of WWE Performance Center. I would never, ever wear something like that. It just, to me, is so demeaning of the wrestlers.
You know what? I'd get my own made and come back the next day, and it would say next standout of the WWE Performance
See, that's
Center.
Good. That's a good idea.
And then they'd know you're an asshole and probably also a star. Anyway, the Dusty Classic continued. This ain't going to take long, I told you, folks. Marcel Marceau and Fabian Forte was up next against Max Mini and Mascarita Sagrada. And I just wrote 2 words, kidding, right? And I fast-forwarded it. And after 15 minutes, the Mexican Minis won clean in the middle of the ring over these guys. The Imperium guys. These 2 fucking, what did they call them? Lucha House Party? They're 5 feet tall. They look like the Mexican Minis. And they won clean. Boom, 1, 2, 3. Did you see any of that?
You're shaving several inches off every wrestler you don't like to make them smaller than they are.
Have they made the top rope in the ring taller these days than since I was last in one?
Not that I'm aware of. And to answer your first question, I did not watch this match.
Okay, I'm just trying to visually judge. Tommaso Ciampa and Timothy Thatcher had a weigh-in for their Fight Pit match, which was the only reason I was watching this program. On this, do you say they did a weigh-in, a legitimate weigh-in? The camera flashes, the guys, Ciampa hit the double bicep. Everybody's got their attitude face on. They do a little shove and a pull apart, which that would have been great, except they have regular assault and batteries backstage and multiple times in every show every week, so it just doesn't mean anything anymore. But I was thinking at the time they do segments like this. The only reason to do a segment like a weigh-in before a fight between 2 fighters is if you're trying to make it seem real. So they do a segment like this to make it seem like a sport or like real, like a fight is going to take place. And the rest of the show just completely blows the teetotal shit out of that impression or that illusion. So you can't have both. If you're trying to, well, nobody's trying to be serious, but you can't just say, I'm going to be serious in Seg 7 and have a bunch of horse shit in Seg 6 or Seg 9 or whatever. It's the same show. Then, Brian, this was the straw that broke the camel's back. They're going to have a women's Dusty Classic tag team tournament. By the way, did we mention this is going to be the last week that I fucking review NXT? We're going to talk about Kyle O'Reilly and Balor, I assume, are having a rematch. That's what was challenged for next week, and we're going to watch that.
No, they're not.
No?
They're
not?
I think they're going to be teaming up next week.
I thought it was you and me next week.
Teaming up.
Mutual
respect.
They just broke each other's fucking jaws.
Mutual respect.
Oh, for fuck's sake. I thought it was going to be the rubber match. Now I don't give a shit what happens next week. But I'm not going to watch a women's tag team tournament if the fucking... Toni Storm and Mercedes Martinez. I've liked both of them. Toni Storm looks like a star. She's a good enough worker to get by. Mercedes Martinez is a fantastic worker and a badass girl. They put them in against 2 girls that weren't 5 feet tall that have to reach up to grab the top rope. And 2 segments, 15 minutes. And then, guess who won? The midgets won again. They beat Toni Storm. These 2 little fucking Keebler elves.
What's going on with you and height?
It's like not even watching a women's wrestling show anymore. It's like watching midget wrestling. The whole show. The next match, Tyler Rust versus Bronson Reed. And we've liked Bronson Reed. He's a big guy, moves, has that great splash off the top. Looks like he's got a grip on being able to work. He could be a future star, right? Tyler Rust, we've seen him a time or 2. He knows he still needs to work on his physique, but he's in good shape. He just doesn't carry a lot of oomph to it, but he's tall. He looks like he knows what he's doing. His work seems pretty good. He has a representative now. They can't say manager. And Heyman calls himself an advocate. This guy's a representative. I guarantee you Vince is saying you can't say manager. What the fuck is a representative? But anyway, Malcolm Bivens did a decent promo earlier, but they disagreed on Tyler Rust taking this match. Malcolm didn't think he should. And then, of course, it turned out that he shouldn't have. But why have they got a manager if he's already managing middle card? You don't have managers for middle card guys. And then it just, I don't, especially when you're trying to get the whole genre over again. But as far as Bronson Reed, we said he should be a future superstar. They've changed his outfit. They changed he's got a plastic Godzilla wrapped around his neck. What, did you see that?
Yep.
What? Who's going to, even if this guy is 300-something pounds and a badass, who's going to take him seriously with a plastic Godzilla wrapped around his neck? He looked like an idiot. At least it wasn't Mantar's fucking buffalo head. They're having this match, and Tyler Rust is working hard trying to get old Bronson Reed over, and all of a sudden they interrupt a fight between the girls in the back. And they go to that, and it just derails the match for the viewers, from the viewer standpoint. And once again, how many fights per show can they have in the back? Every time a camera gets turned on in the fucking locker room, people just suddenly begin fighting. So, as a match, this was there. Tyler Rust never really healed. So Reed didn't really ever babyface. They did moves to each other. Both of them kind of know what they're doing, but the manager never interfered or even tried to. It was just a match. And then Tyler Rust goes for a snapmare. And the idea was supposed to be that that Bronson Reed would put the brakes on and not go, and Tyler would go over, and then Bronson Reed would drop on him and then hit the splash off the top. But Tyler Rust goes for a snapmare, and Reed puts the brakes on it. It just looks like Rust just takes a forward flip in the middle of the air and just fucking landed. Did that look as screwy to you as it did to me?
You know, I didn't even really watch this match.
All right. Well, it looked screwy. And then the manager, Malcolm, the representative, said, "Hey, Tyler, let me pick the matches." And Tyler said, okay. So he's just buried as a dumb fuck already. And then that's when Balor confronted the Undisputed Era in the locker room. And I thought, because they were doing a thing, just nobody was speaking, it was tension. And it was like, Balor, what about it, Kyle? You and me next week? Okay. That's what I thought was a challenge. If they're going to team up, then that's just going to kill that whole thing, so I don't give a fuck. The first thing I want to do is team up with a guy that broke my jaw. Pablo Escobar and the Lucha Suits came out and did an in-ring promo. I don't care. Here comes Max Mini and Masquerita again, the Lucha House Party. They get in a fight. The heels start to get some heat, and suddenly an unknown bland white guy in street clothes makes a save. And the announcers, well, that's Kurt Stallion. Has he ever been on television before on this program?
I don't know who that is, and I didn't watch this segment, so I couldn't tell you.
But we've been watching this show.
I don't know the name. Yeah, I don't know who that is.
Kurt Stallion. Well, they said he was a standout from, I think they said he was a standout from 205 Live, which means he's a skinny fucking nondescript white guy in street clothes that we've never seen before. Hit the fucking ring and made the save. And he grabbed the microphone and started to do a promo and got 5 words out. And basically, the Lucha Suits came back in and made a big challenge for next week, and we never heard from the guy from any explanation of why he decided to interject himself there or whatever. He just looked like a guy that works at the AutoZone. So that was that. And finally, the main event of the evening, the Fight Pit match. And I swear to God, I looked up, they started the only thing worth 2 Taco Bell farts in this entire program. and they started it with 9 minutes left in the show. And I'm like, but I love the fight pit, the gimmick. The thing with Thatcher and Riddle was more MMA style oriented, obviously because of Riddle. And I think it fit the gimmick better. But obviously Ciampa looks and works so much more impressively than Riddle that this was a different match, but I think I kind of liked it better. I love the look of the fight pit. It's got great graphics, etc. Did they change the lighting on top? Or was it just that they were on top for so long this time? It seemed dark and the lighting was a little weird when they were up around the periphery of the thing.
Well, the last time we saw it, I think it was just as dark, but there was no... I guess it's not the Thunderdome when it's NXT, but you didn't have all those monitors with the faces.
The fake fans.
That wasn't there last time. Yeah.
Anyway, I like that gimmick. It's not been overdone and it looks impressive. I don't know how they put this together. They were on top of the thing fighting for so long that it seemed to me that it was dragging by the time they got in the ring where they could take some more bumps and do more shit. Possibly they should have early gone down into the ring and taken some regular bumps and kept a pace up and everything, get people hooked, and then made it more brutal by going up, Thatcher trying to get away, Ciampa catching him, start to smash him into the fucking cage at that point. But they just did... The first half or more was up on top, punching and kicking and trying to throw each other over and just rough stuff. When they went to the break, that's when they got in the fucking ring. And they did a stupid picture-in-picture, which nobody's going to fucking watch. So when they come back from the break, the action was picking up. And this was the only thing on the show all night that could even be viewed as halfway legitimate looking besides the squash Kross did. And... they've that nice spot where Ciampa's draping DDT, the widow's bell. It wouldn't work in this because he's got to drape the guy's feet over the ropes, and this was a cage, not ropes, so it wasn't going to work. But they worked out the referee in it. It was old Proud Boy referee, the white supremacist referee that overtans. He's down on his hands and knees. He'd been checking at something, and Ciampa fucking jerked Thatcher over the top of him and used the referee's body as the ropes to drape the legs and hit him with the fucking deal. That was nice. And they did back and forth, and they beat shit out of each other. And finally, this finish surprised me, considering the way that they've booked Thatcher to get his ass kicked by every fucking Boy Scout that comes around to the door begging for a fucking handout. But he did the deal where Ciampa got his legs stuck in the cage, in the corner of the cage. There's a space, and one of his legs was stuck, and Thatcher got the other one and bent it around in the old fucking, what do they call that deal? The old fucking deal around the leg, around the head. Anyway, and the old fucking deal around the leg, around the fucking head. That's
I don't know what it's called other than that. Yeah.
Well, there you go. But anyway, and Ciampa tapped out. Thatcher tapped him out. And they gave him a 5-minute overrun. So at least we got some time in there. But that was a great piece of business. That was a long show to sit through to watch that one fucking match, really.
Yeah.
What'd you think of?
I really liked the finish. I thought it was all right. Not as good as the Matt Riddle, Timothy Thatcher one. It is weird that the only matches Timothy Thatcher wins on this show are in the fight pit. Which means he's won 2 matches in 6 months. But it was all right.
When you said that, I can see the one with Riddle and Thatcher fit the gimmick of the fight pit better. So I can see where you'd have liked that one better. I like Ciampa because Riddle's just so spastic to me. But that was my favorite thing he's ever done, the fight pit match before. So, but they'll overdo this eventually.
Yeah, the rest of the show, who cares? I'm glad we're honoring the memory of the legendary American Dream Dusty Rhodes by doing a women's tag team tournament, because I know when I think of women's tag team wrestling, the first name I think of is the American Dream Dusty Rhodes.
Oh God!
But this show's bad.
He took Misty Blue, by the way. Took Misty Blue, booked her for one weekend, drew $100,000 in Baltimore, but she was wrestling with 7 other fucking guys. Yeah, this show just, and almost everybody that was of any interest except for Ciampa and Thatcher, has left. In theory, I can't sit through Gargano even to watch that guy. So we got to do something else. I don't know what we're going to watch next week. If it's not Balor O'Reilly 3, but it's Balor O'Reilly, we're going to team up because the writers had another screwy idea. I don't know if I can stomach that.
We don't have to watch. I mean, we could just review the AEW show and not compare it to something else. I will say,
well, the whole idea was it sounded good on paper. It sounded like it was going to be a horse race. Wednesday night, 2 shows head to head. Which one's going to be good? Which one's not? Which one? We've come to find out that both of them suck swamp water.
That's exactly right. I mean, I have heard from a lot of people recently that we should watch SmackDown, that it's improved. Now, every time we have tried this, we have both hated ourselves instantly. But the other issue is that airs Friday nights. It would throw off the recording schedule because you can't review a previous week's show the next week. So,
yeah,
I don't know what we'll do.
We'll do something. We're going to watch something else, for heaven's sake, because
something classic.
I mean, it is my hobby and my mission in life. After all the big build-up and all the big promises and everything that we were promised about our sports-based presentation, this is going to be wrestling the way wrestling fans like it and all this stuff. I want to point out every week that AEW doesn't know whether to wind their ass or scratch their watch, but there needs to be something to compare it to. And to be honest, everybody else is making this so difficult because nothing's any good. But we will try. You know what is good, Brian?
What's that?
I'll tell you what's good.
Tell me.
What's good is running a successful business with revenues in the hundreds of thousands or millions or tens or hundreds of millions of dollars. But regardless of whether you are International Ballistic Missiles Incorporated and do billions of dollars in revenues, or whether you're just a mom and pop operation just trying to get by, the one thing you need is NetSuite. Folks, running a business is tough, but you might even be making it tougher on yourself because the QuickBooks and the spreadsheets can slow you down. I remember when I worked in Titan Tower in Stamford, every time I would carry QuickBooks and spreadsheets up and down the stairs from one place to another, they would slow me down. Well, you don't need to do that anymore. It's time to upgrade to NetSuite. You can stop paying for multiple systems that don't give you the information you need when you need it. With NetSuite, you're unlike me, you're going to know exactly what you're talking about at all points. You can ditch the spreadsheets and all the old software that you've outgrown or donate them to your favorite charity. Maybe somebody else can get some use out of them. But now is the time to upgrade to NetSuite by Oracle, the world's #1 cloud business system. If you have ever thought about getting in the cloud business before, now is your chance. Folks, NetSuite gives you visibility and control over your financials, HR, inventory, e-commerce, and more. Everything you need all in one place instantaneously, and you don't even need Hotchkiss feather bottom to monitor it. You can join the over 24,000 companies using NetSuite right now. Just let them show you how they're going to benefit your business with a free product tour. Just go to NetSuite, that's NetSuite.com, the fancy way of spelling suite. netsuite.com/JCE and schedule a free product tour right now. netsuite.com/JCE. They'll show you what they can do for you for free, and then you can come back and tell me, and we'll both know. Speaking of both of us knowing, what are you doing this week on your programming?
Another action-packed week on the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network. Get information about all shows on Twitter at Superpodcasts or on Facebook at facebook.com.
Are those thumbnails going to start popping up on Twitter pretty soon?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. I got to double check.
I've heard there is a Twitter thumbnail issue going on with other people.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Specific to YouTube, it appears.
Yes, our thumbnails are still there. Travis Bickle does a fine job, but they're not showing up in Brian Last's tweets on the various programming if it's talking about YouTube.
But as I was saying, facebook.com/Arcadian Vanguard, and on that topic,
I'm sorry I interrupted you, by the way.
On the Arcadian...
I'm trying to mention to the people why your shit's substandard lately, and it's not your fault.
All right, Mr. Fingerbottom. Let me continue here.
Hey, I'll have you know that I haven't seen that doctor in quite some time.
on the Arcadian Vanguard YouTube channel. Of course, we have the archives, the old clips of the Jim Cornette Experience and Jim Cornette's Drive-Thru, but we have just uploaded a whole bunch of episodes of John Arezzi's Pro Wrestling Spotlight, as well as John McAdams' Stick to Wrestling, with a lot more stuff to come. Subscribe today. Go to YouTube and search for Arcadian Vanguard. It'll be the first thing that pops up for lots of great classic wrestling content. But on the shows this week, I want to make a mention of a few things. The latest installment of Ron Fuller's Super Studcast, available to patrons of Ron Fuller's Studcast at patreon.com/studcast. It is a two-part look at the life of Danny Hodge, including Ron talking with Jerry Briscoe, and next coming week, Ron and Cowboy Bill Watts talking about Danny Hodge. So these are two guys, Jimmy, I think you would agree with me. If you're going to talk Hodge, Jerry Briscoe and Bill Watts, Oklahoma boys.
Yeah.
These are the guys you want to talk Hodge with.
Yeah, because they worked with, against, in conjunction with, and knew his...
And looked up to and
knew his career from the time that he was in the amateurs. So that would be the go-to guys to talk Danny Hodge.
Once again, patreon.com/studcast. The latest episode of the Mid-Atlantic Championship Podcast is up right now with Mike Sempervive and Roman Gomez reviewing Mid-Atlantic Wrestling Television from September 11th, 1982. Jim, if I said to you 1982 Mid-Atlantic Wrestling and someone on this show does the most fired up, the best promo of the week, who would you guess it would be?
Jimmy the Boogie Woogie Man Valiant.
No, but that's a very good guess. Do you have another guess?
Ricky Steamboat.
You see, the thing is, Mid-Atlantic, you had all these amazing promos, Roddy Piper, Sergeant Slaughter, Ric Flair, Jimmy Valiant.
Yes, I'm not saying them because you said, guess who? So I would think that would be, you're trying to lead me astray somehow. It's a trick question.
Well, you can hear the review as well as hear the audio of this promo.
Oh, you're not going to tell me?
I'm about to tell you.
Oh, okay.
Jim Dalton.
Oh, my God.
Of all people. Were you there? He was in Memphis in 83, wasn't he?
Yes, I managed the Galaxians against Cowboy Jim Dalton. But when did Jim Dalton, what was the issue in which you don't have to tell me the whole story, but just what was the issue he was talking about, that he cut the most fired up promo on the show?
He was just very happy to be there, I guess. But you can hear more about that at Mid-Atlantic Wrestling on the Mid-Atlantic Championship Podcast.
Hey, Jim Dalton, real quick.
Yeah.
Mid-Atlantic Championship Podcast, hold that thought. He comes into Memphis, and they give it the Cowboy Jim Dalton gimmick. And he's got the cowboy hat, and he's got the chaps on, and he's got the boots, and he's got the horseshoe on the ass of his tights. But also, he went a little farther with the cowboy gimmick than most of the cowboys, like Bob Ellis and Frankie Lane. And he actually had a gun belt with 6 shooters. What I didn't know, what as a matter of fact, nobody told me or Danny Davis or Ken Wayne, who were the Galaxians, is that when he was in the goddamn ring, when they introduced him, he was going to draw one of those guns and fire blanks up in the air. It's the second match on the card. I wasn't expecting a shootout, right? So we've been introduced, and then they're introducing the opponents. Figured they'd wait for that till at least the fucking semifinal.
Well, it's funnier, too, when you think about that photo of you with the Galaxians where they have those little laser guns in their hands.
Yes. Somebody also, just on another tangent here, yes, I had pictures of the Galaxians who were supposed to be from the Twilight Zone holding ray guns. And people said, well, Cornette, you're so anti-gun, but they're the wrestlers have guns. They were fucking toy ray guns from Lost in Space. Anyway, so I'm standing there looking at Danny and Ken, and we're doing like the pre-match manager instruction thing while the baby faces are introduced. And the announcer, I think it was still Mike Duncan at that point. He says, and Cowboy Jim Dalton. And he fires those 2 shots up in the air behind my eyes. Fuck. And it scared the boys too. They had just seen him draw it and shoot it. And it still, because it was loud as shit, scared them, but it was behind me. I said, fuck it. And I dove out of the goddamn ring and landed on the floor. And when I realized, I looked up at that point that Dalton had the gun in his hand, I had already got down on my hands and knees. I figured I'll go all the way with it, right? So I get down on my hands and knees and cover my head up like I'm really scared, even though now I know what's going on. And Danny and Ken jumped out and said, get up. I said, why? I split the seat of my pants out when I went through the ropes from fucking asshole to appetite all the way down. And I'm wearing underwear, but I'm mooning the entire front row with Ben over holding my... Anyway, Jim Dalton, everybody.
Jim Dalton, hear more from Jim Dalton on the Mid-Atlantic Championship podcast at midatlanticpod.com, or available wherever you find your favorite podcasts. And of course, the 605 Superpodcast, the Mothership!
You shall rue this day. But go on, start ruing!
The latest episode in production. I'll actually go back to working on it after we're done recording this today, but it should be out very soon with a look at the life and career of Nature Boy Buddy Rogers with his biographer, Tim Hornbaker. That and so much more. Go through the archives today at 605pod.com, available wherever you find your favorite podcasts. The Mothership!